3 years into our engagement, Leo Grant sat me down and told me he wasn't ready to get married. He said he felt like life was rushing by, that he still wanted to feel free for a while longer, and asked if we could postpone the wedding. A few days later, I found out what his version of freedom looked like. I saw him in a high-end bridal boutique, not for me, but for his childhood friend, Sophie Miller. He was holding up a lace veil to her hair, both of them laughing. When he saw me standing by the entrance, his smile didn't falter, it just changed, twisting into something mocking. "Clara Vance," he said, walking toward me. "Are you that desperate? Does following me around like this make you feel better?" He gestured back toward Sophie, who was now looking at me with wide, innocent eyes. "She's about to graduate. Having a campus wedding ceremony before she gets her diploma has always been a dream of hers. Are you really going to be jealous of that?" His voice turned cold. "I already told you I'd marry you," he continued, his tone low and sharp. "So could you stop acting like a stray dog, always under my feet?" I didn't say anything. I just turned to the sales assistant who had been helping me, handed back the silk gown I had been about to try on, and walked out of the store. The cool air on the street felt like a relief. I pulled out my phone and called my mother. "Mom," I said, my voice surprisingly calm, "I don't want to marry Leo anymore." My mother's gasp was audible through the phone. "What? Clara, that's impossible. This engagement was arranged between our families. It's been set for years." I glanced down at a glossy magazine on a nearby newsstand. On the cover was a photograph of a man with intense eyes and a severe, distant expression. "Leo is the only man in the Grant family, right?" I asked slowly. "His uncle has the same last name, doesn't he?" My mother paused. "You mean Julian? But he's the head of the Grant family. Everyone says he's cold, ruthless even. Are you seriously thinking of him?" She hesitated for a moment, then her voice grew worried. "Did you forget what happened the summer you graduated from high school? He was the one who drove you home during that terrible storm. You were so terrified that you came down with a fever the next day." Her words pulled a memory from the back of my mind. That summer, Leo had promised to take me out to celebrate my graduation, but he'd gotten caught up in a street race with his friends and completely forgot, leaving me stranded at a lodge deep in the mountains. A sudden, violent thunderstorm rolled in, making the steep mountain road slick and treacherous. On my way down, my foot slipped on the wet asphalt and I twisted my ankle, a sharp pain shooting up my leg. It was Julian who had appeared out of the storm, his car cutting through the rain. He helped me in and drove me home without a word. At the time, I was so frightened and in pain that I never questioned how he knew where to find me. Looking back, the timing felt too perfect, almost strange. After the fever broke, Leo had shown up at my house every single day. He knelt by my bed, apologizing over and over, promising he would never let me get hurt again. My parents were furious with him. My father, in a fit of rage, nearly hit him. Leo just stood there, unmoving, even when my father grabbed a vase and it shattered against his forehead. Blood trickled down his temple, but he just raised his hand and swore, "Clara, if I ever break my promise to you, may lightning strike me dead." I believed him then. I was touched by his dramatic display of sincerity and agreed to our engagement. Now I saw it for what it was, the performance of a man who was never afraid of consequences because he never intended to face them. I cut through my mother's reminiscing. "Mom, Leo isn't worth my time or my energy. You don't want me to spend my life unhappy, do you?" To my surprise, she didn't argue. Her voice softened. "Clara, I'm so glad you finally realized it. Your father and I never fully trusted him. Let me talk to your father. He'll figure out how to get in touch with Julian. He's been living abroad for years, so it might not be easy to reach him." I told her, "We still have the marriage agreement, don't we? It's a legal document. He can't just ignore it." Just then, I heard Leo's voice right behind me. "Marriage agreement?" he scoffed. I turned around to face him, a cold smile on my face. "Oh, so you think you can use that piece of paper to control me now? Is that where your confidence comes from?" Leo crossed his arms, his expression arrogant. "Your family really covers all their bases, don't they? Trying to trap me." I asked him sharply, "You really think you can be forced into marriage?" His posture stiffened. Clara, I keep my promises, he said. I said I would marry you and I will. Sophie was sick a lot when we were kids. It set her back in school and she's finally graduating. Can't you just have a little compassion? He used to speak of our arranged marriage with a genuine warmth in his eyes. Look, Clara, he would say, you're the one I was meant to be with. He'd grin. The stars must have aligned the day we were born. I actually believed him. I thought our lives were intertwined by some grand design, so when his childhood friend Sophie Miller was always around, I told myself to trust him. Time and time again, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Sophie was bored, so I brought her to the club for your birthday, he'd say casually. Or, Sophie has always wanted to go sailing, but her health was never good enough. When she heard you were competing, she begged me to come watch. When I noticed an expensive-looking necklace on her that I knew he'd bought, he just shrugged. It's just a necklace. She liked it, so I got it for her. It's not a big deal. If you want one, I'll buy you something even better. One excuse after another. Looking back, all the signs had been there, clear as day. I was the fool who had chosen not to see them. It was almost laughable. Then, my phone buzzed with a new text message. I'm Julian. I was informed you wish to change your engagement partner. I agree. I slipped my phone back into my bag and looked up at Leo, who was standing there, defensive and wary. A cold laugh escaped me. Well then, I said calmly, congratulations to Sophie. I hope she enjoys her graduation. Leo's brow furrowed, confusion clouding his features. What's that supposed to mean? I answered him with exaggerated patience. She has health problems. I would never fight with her over something she wants so badly. His face hardened, his tone turning accusatory. Clara, is that sarcasm? Are you trying to curse her? Why do you have to be so cruel? Is it really worth holding a grudge over this? Everyone wants a special memory from their graduation. I didn't answer. I just turned and hailed a taxi. But Leo wasn't finished. He grabbed my wrist, his grip tight. Clara, what do you think you're doing? Don't be so petty. Seeing my indifferent expression, his grip loosened slightly and his voice softened into a wheedling tone. Clara, it's just a little graduation thing. It's like when we used to play those online games and have pretend weddings. You remember that, right? Worried he wouldn't let me go, I just nodded. Yes, I remember. I understand. Good. No more pouting, all right? Leo finally released my hand. Before he could say anything else, Sophie appeared, wearing the wedding gown from the shop. She held the hem of the skirt as she hurried toward us, tears already forming in her eyes. She pleaded, Clara, please don't be upset. This graduation just means so much to me. I've always been too weak to do most things. I just wanted one perfect memory to hold on to. As soon as it's over, I'll give Leo back to you, I promise. Please, don't be angry with me. I said nothing, just gave a small nod to acknowledge her and opened the car door. As I told the driver to go, a sharp scream came from just outside. I yelled for the driver to stop, threw the door open, and ran out. Sophie was on the ground, a scrape on her cheek already starting to bleed, the beautiful wedding dress torn at the knee. Leo rushed to her side, scooping her into his arms, his face a mask of fury. He roared at me. Clara, what is wrong with you? Are you completely heartless? You wanted to ruin her face, didn't you? How could you be so vicious? Sophie buried her face in his chest, crying softly while pretending to defend me. Leo, don't blame her. Clara's just upset. It's understandable. As long as I can rest here with you, I'm happy. Please don't be too angry with her. You're too kind, Leo said gently, holding her closer. Then he turned and shot me a look of pure contempt. Clara, apologize to Sophie right now. Stop making a scene. He glanced at me one last time, then picked Sophie up again. You're being ridiculous, he growled. If it wasn't for you, would this have happened? Her dress is ruined. The least you can do is give her yours to make up for it. My voice was steady when I finally spoke. No. That one word hung in the air between us. This wasn't just any dress. It had belonged to my grandmother, the very one she had worn on her wedding day decades ago. She had adored me, but she passed away when I was still a teenager, long before she could ever see me walk down the aisle. To feel her with me on that day, I had poured time and money into having the antique lace and silk meticulously restored. It was my connection to her, a piece of family history I intended to carry into my future. I looked Sophie straight in the eye, my own composure surprising me. "Doesn't it feel strange to you?" I asked. "Wanting to wear a dress that belongs to someone else's family, to someone else's memory?" Sophie immediately burst into tears. Her voice shook as she cried out, "Clara, even if you don't like me, why did you have to ruin the dress I picked? What did I ever do to you?" Hearing her sobs, Leo stormed back into the shop, enraged. He ordered the staff to bring out my dress. I followed him inside, my heart pounding. "Leo, what are you doing?" His eyes were burning with a cold fire as he snarled, "Since you care about that dress so much, if Sophie can't have it, then neither can you." He grabbed a pair of sharp fabric scissors from a nearby counter. I screamed, "Stop!" But it was too late. With a vicious tearing sound, he began shredding my grandmother's wedding dress to pieces. I collapsed onto the floor, desperately trying to gather the ruined silk and lace in my arms as if I could somehow make it whole again. He then turned, scooped Sophie into his arms, and headed for the hospital. Before he left, he sneered over his shoulder, "Take some time to think about your jealousy, Clara. If you're going to be Mrs. Grant, try not to bring shame to the family." A kind store assistant rushed over and helped me to my feet. "Are you all right, miss?" she asked softly. I shook my head, my eyes blurry with sorrow, and walked out clutching the tattered remains of my grandmother's dress. Before I even made it home, my best friend, Maya, who works as a nurse, sent me a video. It was taken in a treatment room at the hospital. In the video, Leo sat with Sophie cradled in his arms, his voice soft and tender. "Don't be scared, sweetheart. It'll be all right soon," he whispered. Sophie looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. "Am I ugly now? If I'm not pretty anymore, will you still want me?" He stroked her cheek. "Silly girl, I've been waiting for you to grow up." He leaned in closer. "I've waited this long because I cared for you. Don't you see that?" Sophie sobbed, "But I've always been so sick. My family has nothing compared to the Vances. I'll never be good enough for your family." Leo just held her tighter, whispering against her hair. "Who said that? Even without an engagement, you can still be my bride." The video ended on a frozen image of them kissing. Maya, furious, sent a string of voice messages. "That man is a complete monster, Clara. He's playing you. Promise me you won't marry him. He isn't worth it." I replied with a simple message. "I'm not. I've already ended it." When I got home, I sat for hours trying to sew the pieces of the dress back together. It was a slow, heartbreaking process, and my fingertips were soon dotted with blood from the needle pricks, but I didn't stop. Just as I finished, there was a knock at the door. It was a delivery man with a small, elegant box. I opened it to find a stunning diamond ring. My phone buzzed. It was from Julian. "I saw this at an auction. It made me think of you. I'll be back in 7 days. If you still agree, we can hold the wedding just as your parents planned." 7 days, I replied. "All right." And after sending the text, I put my phone away and drove to Leo's house to pack the rest of my things. The moment I walked through the door, I saw Sophie curled up in Leo's arms on the sofa, whining. "Leo, what if Clara gets really angry? What if she refuses to go through with the engagement? Will that hurt your family's business?" Leo held her closer, kissing her forehead. "You silly girl, it has nothing to do with you. You're just too kind. Everyone knows Clara has been desperate to marry me. She clings to me like a lost puppy. She'd do anything to be with me. Postponing the wedding for a few days? She would never say no to that." I clenched my fists and knocked sharply on the open door frame. In a cold voice, I said, "It's the middle of the day. If you want to sleep together, use a bed. Don't lie around out here and offend my eyes." Sophie jumped up as if she'd been electrocuted, her face turning white as tears instantly filled her eyes. Leo shot to his feet, furious. You have no shame. Just because you're indecent doesn't mean Sophie is. If she bothers you so much, then get out. Just as he finished speaking, his personal assistant appeared in the hallway, holding a travel bag. He tossed it at my feet. Miss Vance, he said, his expression blank. You don't need us to remind you, do you? I met his cold gaze. No need. I was just leaving. Leo looked confused and stepped in front of me. What do you mean, planning? Are you trying to get sympathy? It won't work. You go home and wait quietly for me to marry you. Don't try anything, do you hear me? I ignored him, quickly gathered the few things I'd left behind, zipped my bag, and walked out. The moment I was in the hall, the assistant slammed the door behind me. I walked down to the entrance of the residential complex with my suitcase. Just as I reached the gate, a little boy darted out from behind a bush and ran directly into the path of my car. I slammed on the brakes and jumped out to check on him. He was already on the ground, a small pool of what looked like blood forming near his head. I bent down and gently lifted him into my arms. Sweetheart, are you okay? He opened his eyes and gave me a twisted little smile. You evil woman. You're trying to stop my sister from marrying Mr. Grant. You're going to pay for this. The next moment, Sophie came running out, crying and screaming. Brother, what happened to you? She turned on me, her face a mask of rage. Clara, why did you hit my little brother with your car? She pointed a shaking finger at me. You were trying to kill him, weren't you? Because of me? She collapsed to the ground, hugging her brother and sobbing hysterically. Leo came rushing over. Sophie immediately clung to him. Leo, how could she do this to my little brother? He's just a child and now he's unconscious. What are we going to do? Without a word, Leo turned and kicked me hard in the chest, sending me sprawling onto the pavement. Clara! He shouted through clenched teeth. How could you be so cruel? You hit a child with your car. A fire of pain shot through me, but I forced myself to speak. It wasn't like that, I gasped. He ran out on his own. He threw himself at the car. But Sophie shrieked. My brother isn't stupid. Why would he do something like that? He's lying there unconscious and you're going to pay for it. Still crying, she begged Leo to get justice for her family. Leo turned to his assistant and ordered him to bring the car around. Panic flooded me. What are you doing? I cried out. His face was a tight mask of fury. An eye for an eye. I'm going to make sure you never forget this. He got into the driver's seat himself, slamming the door with a deafening crack. He turned the key and the engine roared to life. The car lurched forward, accelerating directly toward me with horrifying speed. My mind couldn't process it fast enough. My feet felt rooted to the pavement. I saw the grille of the car growing larger, a monster of chrome and steel. And then there was a sickening impact. I felt a crushing weight roll over my leg, a sound like a thick branch snapping, and then a bolt of pure, white-hot agony shot up through my entire body. My vision swam with black spots. The world tilted on its axis, and then there was only darkness. Later, I learned that some kind strangers had called an ambulance and rushed me to the hospital. I had surgery on my leg and spent the next several days confined to a hospital bed. Meanwhile, Leo stayed with Sophie and her brother, who was conveniently in the same hospital. The boy complained of pain all over and cried constantly, demanding that both of them stay by his side. Leo seemed to enjoy doting on him, always ready with a soothing word or a comforting touch. On the 7th day, Leo's assistant burst into their room, his face pale. Young Master Grant, he said, out of breath, your uncle just landed. He's back in the country. Leo had always been terrified of Julian. Hearing that he had returned, he started to panic. Why is he back? He must be here for my engagement to Clara. He turned to his assistant and snapped. Go tell Clara to keep her mouth shut. If she dares complain to my uncle, I'll call off the whole engagement right now. The assistant rushed out but returned moments later, looking even more panicked. Mr. Grant, something's wrong. Leo's voice was sharp. What is it? Speak. The assistant swallowed hard. Mr. Julian went straight to the hospital and he went directly to Miss Vance's room. The color drained from Leo's face. His eyes went wide with fear and his body went rigid. Without a second thought, he bolted from the room, running down the hallway and pushing past people in his way. When he reached my hospital room, he skidded to a halt, coming face to face with Julian, who was standing just inside the doorway. Leo's face twitched into a strange smile that looked more like a pained grimace. In a thin, trembling voice, he said, "Uncle Julian, what a surprise to see you here." He knew how important the engagement was for both of our families, and he knew Julian prioritized the family business above all else. If I exposed his behavior, the consequences would be severe. The thought made his heart pound. Desperately trying to control the situation, Leo hurried to my bedside. He awkwardly tugged at the edge of my blanket, faking concern. "Clara, how are you feeling?" he asked, his voice full of false warmth. Before I could answer, he leaned down and tried to kiss me, right in front of Julian. I turned my face away sharply. His lips met empty air. He froze, the color draining from his face before rushing back in a hot flush of embarrassment. He looked completely lost. He quickly turned to Julian and forced a laugh. "She's just shy, Uncle." But I was finished with his games. I looked him straight in the eye, my voice calm and cold. "Leo, we're over." His eyes widened in disbelief, as if I'd slapped him. His tone softened immediately, a pleading note creeping in. "Clara, don't be impulsive. This isn't something to joke about. Tell me what's wrong. Are you upset with me? Just tell me and I'll fix it, all right?" I looked at him, my expression serious. "I'm not joking. I've already decided to get engaged to someone else." As I spoke, I slowly raised my hand, showing him the diamond ring on my finger. His eyes filled with fury. He reached out to snatch it away, shouting as he grabbed at my hand. "You think you can fool me with some cheap ring? This must be from some man trying to trick you." "Clara, I've already prepared the engagement gifts. They're on their way to your parents' house right now. As soon as you're out of this hospital, we'll have the wedding. Don't let some outsider deceive you, please." I gave a cold, mocking laugh. "What? You're not marrying your childhood sweetheart anymore? You were just shopping for a wedding dress with her a few days ago? Do you think I'm an idiot?" Leo glanced nervously at Julian, who was watching with an unreadable expression. He rushed to defend himself, plastering a fake smile on his face. "Uncle, don't listen to her. She's just upset. I've always loved Clara. That Sophie girl is like a little sister to me. I was just keeping her company. It was nothing." I met his words with a sharp sneer. "Your love is certainly flexible. One minute you're whispering sweet nothings to another woman, and the next you're claiming I'm the one you love. Don't you hear how ridiculous you sound?" Leo grew more desperate, the veins on his forehead bulging. His voice rose, trembling with urgency. "Clara, I haven't changed. I have always loved you. You have to believe me. I was confused, but I see things clearly now. I know I made mistakes, and I explained everything, didn't I? Why won't you believe me? This engagement was arranged by our families. I've always been serious about you. You have to know that. Please tell me you do." I looked him straight in the eye, all warmth gone from my voice. It was calm, cold, and final. "Sorry, Leo. I don't love you anymore. From the moment you started lying to me, my heart just stopped caring." Leo seemed to deflate where he stood. He swayed slightly, as if his strength had been sucked out of him, his face a mixture of shock and utter disbelief. He murmured in a trembling voice, "No, this can't be happening. Clara, you can't do this to me." Suddenly, the door to the room burst open and Sophie stormed in, her hair a mess and her cheeks streaked with tears. She looked like a wilting flower, putting on her usual show of pitiful innocence, as she immediately pointed at me and began to sob. "Uncle Julian, you have to stand up for me," she wailed. "Clara has gone too far. That day, she knew my little brother was playing by the road, but she still drove straight at him. She tried to kill him. He's still lying unconscious in a hospital bed, and she acts like nothing happened. How can she be so cruel?" Sophie sniffled dramatically. "And now, to avoid taking responsibility, she's trying to make things up about me and Leo. She's probably telling you we have some secret relationship, but it's a lie. We're innocent. She's the one causing all this trouble." As she finished her speech, Sophie charged toward me, grabbed my wrist, and held my hand up for Julian to see. Her voice rose to a shriek. "Look at her! Look at this ring! She's the one who cheated on Leo. Who knows how many men she's been with? A shameless woman like her isn't worthy of marrying into the Grant family." Uncle Julian, you can't let her bring shame to your family's name. At that moment, something inside Leo snapped. His eyes burned with rage as he rushed toward me and yanked on my arm, pulling me up from the bed. Clara, tell me the truth. Have you really been cheating on me? Which man had the nerve to go after my woman? Does he have a death wish? Fine, I'll break off the engagement. His grip was so tight I thought my bones would crack. I struggled, but he was unrelenting. That's when Julian finally moved. Until then, he had stood in silence, watching the scene unfold. I knew my sudden decision must have raised questions for him. He'd been away for years. This messy situation must have been a lot to process. But now he stepped forward, his face a cold mask of resolve. He reached out and forcefully shoved Leo away from me. Then, with surprising gentleness, he helped me sit back against the pillows. For the first time, he spoke. His voice was quiet but carried an immense power that filled the room. Calling off the engagement? Very well. Since you said it, I now speak on behalf of the Grant family. I accept. With that, Julian leaned slightly closer, his arm resting naturally around my shoulders. The ring on his fourth finger, a perfect match to mine, glinted under the lights. His eyes were steady, his voice firm with authority. I'm the man you keep calling some outsider. I am the one Clara chose. I looked up at him. His face was perfectly composed, but I saw something softer in his eyes. In that moment, my heart stirred with a complex rush of surprise, gratitude, and something else. Something deeper I couldn't yet name. As Julian's words registered, both Leo and Sophie froze, their faces turning from anger to stunned disbelief. Their mouths hung open, but no words came out. Leo couldn't process what he was seeing. His eyes were blank as he murmured to himself, "This can't be real. This isn't happening." Then, as if a switch was flipped, he rushed at me like a madman, grabbing my shoulders and shaking me. Clara, tell me this isn't real. You're just trying to make me jealous, right? Say something. Julian's voice cut through the air, sharp and cold. Do you really think I have time to put on an act for you? The words hung in the room like frost. Leo's body went limp. He collapsed onto the edge of a nearby chair, stunned and defeated. Sophie, alarmed, hurried to his side, patting his back and sobbing, Leo, please don't be upset. It's her loss. You still have me. I'll always be by your side. But Leo's mind was in turmoil. He shoved her away, pointing a trembling finger at her. This is all your fault. You and your stupid graduation ceremony. You've been clinging to me for weeks, dragging me into this mess. Now apologize to her. Get on your knees. Sophie stumbled back, looking crushed. Tears streamed down her face as she threw her arms around him. Leo, didn't you say I was the one you loved? Now that she's gone, can't we finally be together? But Leo had reached his limit. He shoved her aside roughly. What do you know? What does your Miller family have to offer me? What do I possibly gain by marrying you? Audrey fell to the floor, still crying and clinging to his leg. Julian had seen enough. His expression darkened. Someone come in, he called out. Immediately, 2 security guards and a nurse stepped into the room. Take them out, Julian said firmly. Do not let them disturb my fiancé's rest. As a stunned Leo and Sophie were led toward the door, Julian spoke again, his voice calm but ice cold. Anyone who dares to harm my fiancé, I will make sure they regret it. And as for what happened to Sophie's brother, I've already called the police. Audrey froze, her face turning chalk white with fear. The door clicked shut and the room was finally quiet. Alone with Julian, I suddenly felt awkward. After a moment of hesitation, I spoke softly. I'm sorry, we won't be able to hold the wedding as planned. Julian looked at me, his expression serious but gentle. If something like this ever happens again, you must tell me immediately. Don't forget, I'm your fiancé now. I pressed my lips together, unsure what to say. He raised an eyebrow, a faint smile touching his lips. Shy now? What happened to the boldness you had when you asked to change partners? My cheeks grew warm, and I looked away. Just then, his assistant knocked and entered. Mr. Grant, as you instructed, all wedding preparations have been postponed. I turned to Julian and apologized again. I'm really sorry for all the trouble. He leaned in slightly, his voice soft. Clara, you don't have to be so formal with me. You'll need to get used to having me around. As he drew closer, his breath brushed against my cheek and my heart began to pound. It had been years since I'd been this close to any man besides Leo. Before either of us could say more, the door flew open and my mother and father rushed in, their faces etched with worry. My mother ran to my bedside, her eyes already filled with tears. Clara, she cried. How did you get into a car accident? Why didn't you tell us? Tears streamed down her face. It's all my fault. Have you been suffering at the Grants' house? I calmed them down, telling them only that it was an accident and leaving Leo out of it entirely. It was then they noticed Julian standing quietly in the room. My father greeted him, and Julian responded with a respectful bow. Mr. and Mrs. Vance, he said earnestly. I'm sorry, this was my fault. I didn't take proper care of Clara, and I take full responsibility. He stood and looked at them sincerely. Please don't worry, I'll never let something like this happen again. I've decided to move my work focus back to the country so I can be here with her. My parents exchanged a relieved glance. They nodded, their faces softening. I looked at Julian, a wave of unease washing over me. He was serious about this. He truly wanted to build a life with me. The next day, the police arrived at the hospital. When Leo and Sophie heard, they rushed over in a panic. Leo stormed in first, stepping in front of the officers. What gives you the right to investigate me? He shouted. Clara was driving carelessly. Why are you trying to pin this on me? Sophie chimed in. That's right. Don't wrongly accuse good people. She's just trying to frame us. Despite the officer's questions, they both denied everything. The officer then calmly said, We've already acquired the surveillance footage from that day. It clearly shows what happened. The moment he said it, both Leo and Sophie went pale, their bodies starting to tremble. Julian, who had been watching the video on a tablet, stepped forward. A coldness settled around him, his eyes turning glacial. He had seen the truth. Leo had deliberately run me over. Leo saw Julian's expression and stumbled toward him, falling to his knees and grabbing his legs. Uncle Julian, I was wrong. I wasn't thinking. Please forgive me. Just say something to the police. Help me. But Julian's face was like ice. He looked at the officers and said in a hard, steady voice, Take him away. This was attempted murder. Pursue the charges to the fullest extent of the law. Sensing the danger, Sophie immediately tried to distance herself. I had nothing to do with it. Clara's injury has nothing to do with me. It was Leo who drove the car. I tried to stop him. The police concluded there wasn't enough evidence to charge her, and they let her go. Julian watched her leave with narrowed eyes. He gave a cold chuckle and said quietly, The Miller family. I'll remember that. His voice was low, but it carried a chilling weight. It didn't take long. With Julian's influence, the Miller family soon found themselves financially ruined. Contracts were canceled, their cash flow dried up, and within weeks, the Miller Corporation collapsed. Sophie and her brother, stripped of their wealth, ended up on the streets with their disgraced parents. Time passed as my leg healed, and preparations for my wedding to Julian moved forward. He carved out time from his busy schedule to visit me, his quiet presence a constant comfort. Or, my parents, seeing his sincere efforts, grew to adore him. The wedding day finally arrived. The hall was filled with white roses, my favorite. Every detail was perfect. Wearing a custom gown, I linked arms with Julian and walked toward the altar, my heart feeling light for the first time in years. Then, the doors burst open. Leo staggered inside, looking disheveled and wild. The Warren family elders had pulled some strings to get him released. He ran toward me and dropped to his knees, clutching my gown. Clara, I was wrong, he choked out, tears streaming down his face. Please forgive me. Don't marry my uncle. I'm the one who loves you. I was blinded by Sophie, but I see clearly now. Just give me one more chance. The joyful hall fell silent. I looked down at him, my heart a placid lake. The love I once felt was gone, buried under layers of pain and betrayal. I stepped back, pulling my dress from his grasp. Leo, I said evenly, it's too late. I gave you countless chances. I will never forget what you and Sophie did. A look of anguish crossed his face. Nora, I swear I'll spend my life making it up to you. He doesn't love you. He's only marrying you for the family alliance. I stood my ground, unmoved. I turned to look at Julian, who was waiting patiently, his eyes full of trust. Then I turned back to Leo. You're wrong, I said quietly. I know exactly how he feels about me. I don't need you to question it. I've seen everything he's done, and I've fallen in love with him. As for you, there's nothing left between us. It's over. As I spoke, Julian reached out and gently took my hand. His palm was warm. He stepped forward, shielding me with his tall frame. His eyes, now cold as steel, locked onto Leo. Caleb, he said calmly, today is my wedding day. If you cause any more trouble, don't blame me for the consequences. You broke the law. Justice will deal with you. Leo's face twisted with fury. Fine, he shouted. I won't let this go. He spun around and stumbled out of the hall. I watched him go and felt nothing but a quiet calm. I tightened my grip on Julian's arm and turned with him toward the altar. Surrounded by our friends and family, we exchanged rings and sealed our vows with a tender kiss. In that moment, I said goodbye to my past. A new chapter of my life, one I would write hand in hand with Julian, had just begun.